The conversation about Caitlyn Clark has reached a point where it no longer feels contained within the usual boundaries of the WNBA. She has risen beyond it, eclipsing the very league she plays in, reshaping the conversation around women's sports, and igniting debates from locker rooms to boardrooms. The league wasn't prepared for someone who could tilt the entire economic landscape in less than a year, and the reactions from players revealed the emotional strain beneath the surface. Many of them watched as Clark secured endorsements worth more than their entire annual salaries combined. While carrying a spotlight none of them had ever come close to experiencing. Jealousy grew quietly at first, then loudly as the season progressed. They dismissed her skills, downplayed her accomplishments, and insisted she was overhyped. But underneath the noise was something undeniable. She was bigger than the league, and the league didn't know how to manage the weight of her presence. What made this situation even more remarkable was that she entered a franchise that had spent years sinking deeper into financial quicksand. The Indiana Fever weren't just struggling on the court, they were bleeding money in ways few fans realized. For years, the franchise operated at a deficit, losing the kind of money that forces owners in any sport to reconsider their commitment. But Herbert never walked away. Despite low attendance and modest local television numbers, he continued covering the losses and keeping the franchise afloat. To the outside world, the Fever were simply another small market team trying to survive. Internally, they were fighting for relevance, fighting for financial stability, fighting simply to exist. Then one draft pick changed the entire equation. The night the Fever selected Caitlyn Clark, the franchise's valuation skyrocketed before she even stepped onto a WNBA court. Almost immediately, the economic momentum began shifting in ways professional sports analysts hadn't seen in decades. Suddenly, Indiana went from a modest local draw to the most in-demand ticket in the league. Every arena she stepped into became a spectacle, every matchup a must-see event. The financial transformation was so rapid that even veteran executives struggled to comprehend how one player could generate so much revenue so quickly. But Clark wasn't just lifting the team, she was lifting the entire league. Before her arrival, Indiana's attendance hovered around 4,000 fans per game, a figure that barely made a dent in a 17,000-seat arena. Empty seats were normal, and the building often felt cavernous despite its passionate core supporters. But Clark changed that overnight. Suddenly, every game felt like a playoff event. The Fever jumped to more than 17,000 fans per night, selling out 16 of their 20 home games. Those numbers weren't projections or estimates. They were real, documented, and unprecedented in the history of the franchise. The additional fans alone represented close to $1 million in added revenue per game once premium seating, VIP packages, and elevated ticket prices were factored in. Over the course of the season, that kind of attendance explosion translated to tens of millions of dollars, economic surge, unlike anything the Fever had ever experienced. Even on the road, Clark's influence followed her like a tidal wave, swallowing every arena she entered. Opposing teams began relocating Fever matchups from their usual smaller venues to NBA arenas just to capture the demand. That wasn't a minor change. It was a complete restructuring of how the WNBA had traditionally approached scheduling. When Washington moved their game into Capital One Arena, when Atlanta shifted their matchup into State Farm Arena, and when Los Angeles opened up Crypto.com Arena, it was clear that league executives understood the magnitude of Clark's drawing power. And because the WNBA uses revenue-sharing structures for road games, the Fever benefited financially from every large crowd she brought into opposing arenas. Millions of dollars flowed into Indiana purely from her road appearances. Television was the next frontier, and this was where Clark's value reached a level the league had never seen before. Her games consistently drew viewership numbers that outperformed national sports broadcasts across multiple networks. Some matchups crossed the million-viewer mark, shattering long-standing WNBA records. And while national broadcast money is distributed across all franchises, the Fever's local TV deals suddenly became more valuable. Viewership spiked on local networks, making future negotiations far more profitable than anything the franchise had previously experienced. The national networks took notice too, pushing Clark-driven matchups to prime slots that the WNBA had rarely been offered in past seasons. Her impact wasn't just visible, it was measurable in dollars and long-term leverage. Merchandise exploded next. Clark's jerseys consistently sold out, topping every WNBA sales chart and even challenging major NBA stars on certain retail platforms. Every restock disappeared almost instantly, and although the league shares merchandise revenue, teams still earn a significant cut from sales tied to their own players. For the Fever, Clark-related merchandise became a reliable, high-volume revenue stream, adding millions to their bottom line. It wasn't just jerseys, either. From shirts to hats to branded accessories, everything associated with her name was moving at a pace no one in women's basketball had ever seen. But the most transformative element of all was corporate sponsorship. Once Clark arrived and the Fever became a national headline, companies began reshaping their advertising strategies around her visibility. The Fever's corporate partners saw exposure levels multiply. Their logos appeared on national broadcasts, on social media posts reaching millions, and across news segments reporting on Clark's impact. When contract renewals come up, the numbers will reflect this newfound leverage. Sponsorship revenue could realistically double or triple, based on industry expectations for a franchise experiencing this level of national engagement. That brings us to the most telling indicator of all. In January 2025, Herbert approved a $78 million practice facility, a historic investment for a WNBA franchise. This wasn't just a renovation or an upgrade. It was the construction of one of the most advanced women's basketball training centers in the world. Simon is a businessman with decades of experience and billions in assets. He makes calculated decisions, not emotional ones. Approving that facility was a declaration that the Fever were entering a new era. An era built on sustained revenue, national relevance, and long-term stability. It signaled that the financial projections inside the franchise were strong enough to justify an investment of that size. And the catalyst behind it all was clear. Caitlyn Clark didn't just boost the Fever's finances, she transformed them. She pulled a struggling franchise out of the shadows and into national prominence. The revenue surge, the sponsorship growth, the ticket sales, the merchandise, firestorm, it all pointed to a singular truth. She wasn't just bigger than the players who resented her. She wasn't just bigger than the franchise that drafted her. She had become bigger than the league itself. And the financial data proved it beyond question. Now the question becomes one every fan wants answered. Is this sustainable? Is the Fever's financial revival a long-term reality or a temporary spike built around one extraordinary star? Only time will tell. But the early signs suggest that Indiana has positioned itself for a future unlike anything the WNBA has ever seen. What do you think? Has Caitlyn Clark changed the economic future of the WNBA for good? Or is this momentum temporary? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more deep dive stories, dramatic breakdowns, and powerful narratives on the business and culture of basketball, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss what comes next.